Welcome to another explainer. I'm honestly so excited about today's topic because we are finally going to crack the code on a struggle pretty much all of us face. You know, why we completely fail at our goals even when we have all the inspiration in the world, and more importantly, how to actually fix it using real behavioral science. So if you've ever felt like your own willpower has just betrayed you, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to build a completely customized diagnostic toolkit today to solve your specific habit failures. Let's get into it. Okay, so here's our roadmap for the explainer. 1. The just get started paradox. 2. Solving the starting problem. 3. Solving the sustaining problem. And 4. Your ultimate habit system.
All right, section 1, the just get started paradox.
Let's be real for a second. Think back to your last abandoned New Year's resolution, or, that really ambitious workout plan you started on a Monday. You go all in, right? You buy the expensive running shoes on Sunday, you absolutely crush it on Monday. You wake up super sore on Tuesday, and by Wednesday, well, those shiny new shoes are literally just an obstacle you trip over in your hallway. Why do our absolute best intentions seem to just evaporate by Wednesday? Why is it so incredibly hard to do the things we genuinely want to do?
Well, it usually boils down to procrastination. There's this fascinating thesis from Macquarie University that defines procrastination just perfectly. They define it as voluntarily delaying a task or course of action with the knowledge that the delay will likely prove detrimental. I mean, really think about that. We do this to ourselves even when we consciously know it is hurting us. Wild, right?
So to combat this, one of the most common pieces of advice out there is the just get started rule. The logic seems sound enough. When you're completely paralyzed by procrastination, just shrink the goal down and force yourself to take the very first step, even if you don't feel like it. It's basically a brute force approach to trick your brain into motion, operating on the assumption that once you start, momentum will just magically take over.
But here is where it gets really interesting. That same Macquarie University study actually put this just get started tactic to the test using the habit of flossing. They had one group just floss normally and another use the tactic. Basically, if you don't feel like it, just floss one single tooth before deciding to quit. Now, the participants felt like this rule was a game changer. Their perceived efficacy was off the charts. But the empirical data? It showed that over 4 weeks, they didn't actually floss significantly more than the control group. And this is exactly where the just get started rule falls short compared to something like implementation intentions. Implementation intentions are when you make a concrete, specific plan of exactly when and where you'll act. Just getting started relies on this vague urge, which, sure, feels productive in the moment, but it doesn't actually change your long-term behavior.
Which brings us to a harsh but honestly kind of liberating truth. Willpower is a losing strategy. Period. It is a finite resource that completely drains when you're tired, stressed, or just hungry. That flossing study proves that having a vague goal and relying on sheer willpower to quote-unquote just get started just isn't enough to sustain a behavior. To actually succeed, we have to stop relying on force and start diagnosing. You really need to ask yourself, do I have a starting problem or do I have a sustaining problem?
So, let's figure that out in section 2, solving the starting problem.
Enter Stanford behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg and his legendary tiny habits framework. Fogg developed this model called B equals MAP. It stands for behavior equals motivation plus ability plus a prompt, all coming together at the exact same moment. Now, most of us naturally try to boost our motivation, but let's face it, motivation is incredibly flaky. Fogg's absolute genius here is focusing on ability instead. If you make the ability requirement ridiculously, laughably tiny, like doing literally 2 push-ups, your motivation can be sitting at rock bottom and you'll still actually do it.
And Fogg gives us this brilliant 3-part recipe to install any new behavior. Step 1, anchor it to an existing routine. Step 2, make the behavior tiny, like under 30 seconds tiny. Step 3, immediate celebration. So using our flossing example, you anchor it to brushing your teeth. The tiny behavior is flossing just 1 tooth. And then, and this is crucial, immediately celebrate. Do a little fist pump, smile in the mirror, tell your dog you're a champion. I know, it sounds a little silly, but that positive spike of emotion is exactly what wires the new behavior into your brain.
But what if getting off the couch isn't your issue? That brings us to section 3, solving the sustaining problem.
If you're the kind of person who starts strong but loses your streak 3 weeks in when the shiny novelty wears off, we turn to James Clear and his mega bestseller, Atomic Habits. Just like Fogg, Clear completely ignores motivation. Instead, he relies entirely on systems and environment design. He maps out the 4 laws of behavior change. Make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying. Notice that this is an environmental shift. It's not an internal willpower shift. By physically changing your environment, like literally putting your gym shoes in front of the front door so you trip over them, you're making the good habit the path of least resistance. And this brilliantly illustrates where starting and sustaining actually overlap with Clear's 2-minute rule. He says to take whatever habit you want to build and scale it down to a 2-minute version. So do 45 minutes of yoga becomes simply take out the yoga mat. That's it. Because the goal isn't to just do 2 minutes of yoga forever, right? It's to realize that mastering the art of showing up is the actual habit. You absolutely have to establish the behavior first before you can optimize it. But to truly sustain that habit over the long haul, you have to go a layer deeper. Research shows it takes an average of 66 days for habit to become truly automatic. Surviving that 2-month window requires the deepest concept in atomic habits, the identity shift. While BJ Fogg is wiring your brain with a quick little fist pump, James Clear is playing the long game. You have to transition your mindset from being someone who is trying to read more to someone who is a reader. When your habits align with your core self-image, you aren't forcing the behavior anymore. You're just acting like the person you already believe you are.
Okay, let's tie all of this together in Section 4, your ultimate habit system.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that BJ Fogg and James Clear are not competitors. They are solving problems on completely different floors of the exact same building. Fogg focuses on emotion and eliminating that initial starting friction using micro behaviors under 30 seconds. He's your go-to guy for just getting off the ground. Clear, on the other hand, focuses on identity and reducing sustaining friction through system design. He's the architect you need to survive that inevitable motivation drop-off in month 2.
To use their frameworks effectively, you need to apply what's called the fit-first filter. Basically, you need to diagnose your specific sticking point right now. Be brutally honest with yourself. If your big plans consistently collapse by day 3, or you literally can't even get off the couch to start, you have a starting problem. Use Fogg. Shrink it down and celebrate it. But if you can easily string together 2 weeks and then you mysteriously fade away, you have a sustaining problem. In that case, use Clear. Redesign your environment and shift your identity. Now, I do want to throw in one really fascinating caveat here from neuroscientist Dr. Jub Brewer. Both Fogg and Clear are phenomenal for building new positive habits. But if you're actively trying to break a deeply ingrained anxiety-driven compulsive habit, we're talking things like stress eating or doom scrolling, you actually need a totally different tool. For those, you can't just hack the cue or the routine. You actually have to directly address your brain's underlying reward loop by bringing mindful curiosity to exactly how unrewarding that bad habit actually feels in the moment. It's a subtle but massive difference. And there you have it, the end of our diagnostic toolkit. You now know for fact that willpower is a myth. You know exactly how to conquer starting friction with tiny celebrated actions, and you know how to build a sustaining system through identity and environment design. So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. What is the one tiny habit you will celebrate today to build the identity of tomorrow? Seriously, take a second, pick your tiny action, and go celebrate it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.